This is Road Noise, episode number 76.
Let me just jump in real quick before we get started with this episode and let you know that although the audio doesn't sound as good as it normally does at the beginning, it does get better somewhere in the ballpark of the 4-minute range, so it doesn't take very long. I had a lot of technical issues with this particular episode, and normally I wouldn't jump in at the beginning of one, but I don't want you to turn it off just because that just doesn't sound great. And it may not sound as bad to you as it sounds to me, but when I got into post-production, it just sounded, to me, awful. And so I want you to have the best experience as possible, so I wanted to just jump in real quick before we get started and let you know to hang tight at about the 4-minute mark. It does get a lot better. If you listen to this entire episode, you'll understand why this was kind of a crazy one. A lot of stuff happened, a lot of technical issues and different things like that I had to try to work around on the fly. And when you're driving, it's not the easiest thing to do on the fly. So I appreciate you sticking with me, and let's get to episode number 76 of Road Noise Life, 1 mile at a time.
Welcome into another episode of Road Noise Life, 1 mile at a time. I'm your host, Michael Blackston, and you're sitting alongside me in the passenger seat as we learn to live life 1 mile at a time on a road trip, always on my commute. Well, not always, but most of the time. On my commutes to and from work all over the Southeast. I'm a granite etcher. I love what I do, but I also enjoy your company, so thank you for joining me. And if you're new to the show and you're wondering, what's all this noise I'm hearing in the background? Well, that's just travel noise, mostly the noise of the road, hence the reason I call it road noise. And in this episode, we're going to do a couple of things. The main topic is going to be Showtime International and Terminix. These are the next stops on my work career, on the road to where I am now in my work career. And both of them, you know, I've done so much in my careers, or in my career as a working person, through different careers. I feel like everything's given me a little bit more knowledge, has trained me a little bit more to be who I am today. In other words, I've garnered a little bit more out of everything I've done. These two, however, may be the alternative to that. In Terminix, I will tell you, I learned a little bit about scheduling, but really not a whole lot else. And I was in it such a short time, I really didn't become an expert on insects or anything like that. And these were just moments in my life. I did get interesting stories, but as far as them bettering me and helping me to become the business person I am today, or the artist that I am today, they really didn't a whole lot. There were some things I did garner from one person in Showtime International that I've carried on into my acting, but that's it. And so we're going to talk about those things today. I'm hearing a little bit of a hollow sound. My voice sounds hollow to me. So let's see here. I'm going to do a little something here. I'm going to work on my voice a little bit here. Maybe it's not quite so hollow now. This sounds a little bit better. Anyway, I don't know. I'm fussing with all kinds of different technical issues as I try to drive, and keeping my mind and eyes on the road being the number one thing. But let's jump right into it. And then a little bit later, I'm going to make a phone call to my son, I think, and maybe my daughter, as they're on their way back from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. They've been on a trip with my mom and stepdad, and so I'm going to talk to them a little bit just because I miss them and want to see what they're up to. Anyway, let's get started. As you remember, in the last episode, I told you all about Carowinds. Well, there was a time between Carowinds and Showtime International that I worked in radio. I went to school for radio and television broadcasting, and I immediately got a job, almost immediately into school, full-time as a DJ from 7 to midnight at an FM radio station. It started in AM, and they moved me over to FM after a couple of months. But I've already told you a lot of that, and I can't remember the episode number, but it's called Radio Days. So you can go look up Radio Days at the website if you would like to, at roadnoisepodcast.com, and find the episode where I kind of talk about my radio career. So I'm going to skip over that because I've already done that, and I might go into some more detail about radio stuff as more stories from that time in my life pop up and I might do a Radio Days 2 or something like that. But for these purposes here, I want to skip over that and go straight into what I did after WRIX in Anderson. Showtime International. This happened while I was working at WRIX in Anderson, South Carolina, and my mom came to me one afternoon. I was still living at home at the time, and my mom came to me and said, I found these auditions in the paper in Greenville. Greenville is a bigger city outside of Anderson, about 30 to 45 minutes from Anderson. She said, I saw this ad for auditions for a new Broadway-style show tune company. They're going to be doing all kinds of different stuff and performing in different places, and they're holding auditions for their cast. This will be eventually a paid gig, not right now, not to start, but it eventually will become a paid thing. Well, that's good. Well, I was not getting paid hardly anything at the radio station. I mean, life was a lot more expensive than I was getting paid, and so I decided this might be a jump that I want to take. Even though I'm going to be getting rid of a little bit of income, I can do something else on the side, because the radio job, just the hours were not going to jive with this thing if it happened. So I went in for the auditions, and my wife and I both went, and we got cast. Both of us got cast in the cast of Showtime International. And I quit the radio station. I said, I understand that this is kind of a gamble, but I believe in what I want to do for the rest of my life, and this is what I want to do is entertainment and performance, and I'm going to go this direction. So I did. And Kayla wasn't working anywhere at the time, I don't believe. So we get there, and immediately I kind of get the idea that it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. This is a startup company. This is not something that, and we knew it was startup, but we kind of had the idea that it was more professionally done, people who had experience in the business. And what I found out was it was this man and woman who was starting the company who had zero experience in the entertainment business. They just knew a couple of people. And their daughter was cute and pretty and could clog and could halfway carry a tune, if I can remember. I think the young girl was a decent singer. I can't remember. She was very young, though, so they were building this thing around her. The cool thing about this, and I'll give you just a real quick overview of the people involved. The cast that I can remember, I don't remember their names, but I'm going to kind of give you descriptive kind of names here. You had the Snotty Diva. This was a young lady who I remember specifically could sing very well. She was an alto, but she could really belt. She had a great voice. But she was a bit of a diva. Not a bit. She was quite a diva. She was... I'm trying to keep this PG, so we'll keep it there. She was the epitome of the snotty diva. There was the lovable teddy bear. This was a big guy. I mean, he was tall, he was thick, he was just a big, imposing character with a big voice. But it was a high baritone, low tenor voice, and it was smooth as silk. He had a fantastic voice. Of course, they had quite a lot of people to choose from when they held these auditions. The Greenville area is fairly large, and they had quite a few people, I think, show up for the audition, so they had a lot to choose from. But so that's the Snotty Diva and the lovable teddy bear. This guy not only had a beautiful voice, but he also had a beautiful personality. He was one of those guys that would give you the shirt off his back. Everything, he approached everything with a smile and a big handshake. He loved on you, and that's why I call him the lovable teddy bear. Then you had the friendly theater vet. The friendly theater vet is the person, if you've ever been involved with auditions and you're going into a new place to audition, there's always that person who's in every show, and they know everybody from the stage managers to everybody else that's involved. They know every ounce of the theater, and they know it. They're not a snob, and they're not showing off, but they're very comfortable with everybody there. And I call her the crusty theater vet. Well, no, the friendly theater vet, not the crusty theater vet. That's who I am now. I'm the old crusty theater vet. No, she was the friendly theater vet because for all of this boldness that she showed, even at the audition, because she knew the family that was building this thing. So when she went to the audition, she knew them, and they had done some local theater, I think, with her. So I recognized her in the auditions as being this type, and then she was cast in the show, and she was even more that type. But it was always done very friendly. It was never done with a mean spirit. She was another one that would give you the shirt off her back. You could tell she was one of these people, you could just tell she was going to be a great mom. You know, she just loved everybody, and she wanted to solve problems, and she wanted to be the person who fixed it if a couple people got into an argument. You know, that kind of person. So she was the friendly theater vet. Then you got the goofy newbie. That would be me, maybe my wife as well, but I've got a different name for her, so I'm going to just say me, the goofy newbie. I've had plenty of theater experience before, but never with anything like this. And all of these people, it seemed, kind of had been in the Greenville theater scene and maybe even had worked with each other before at some point. So they all kind of knew each other a little bit. I was the new guy on the block, and so I had to get to know everybody, and so did my wife. Then you've got my wife, and I've called her the insecure newbie, and that's it. We were both newbies. I was just the goofy newbie, and the reason I was goofy was because I'm just always been that way. I'm goofy. I crack jokes. I do voices. I'm constantly saying something sounding like I'm from a completely different country, and I may do 3 countries in one paragraph. You never know. That's me. I'm goofy. But she was the insecure newbie. She was the one who didn't think she deserved to be there. She still doesn't think she deserves to be there. She's always been very insecure. And you know what? I think if she's got time, this may be a perfect opportunity for she and I to talk about this together. I wonder if she'd be willing to. Let's see.
Hey.
Hey.
What you doing?
Recording an episode of the show.
Oh.
I'm just letting you know that I'm recording this.
Okay, that's fine.
Is that, are you got a minute? I swear I get into the lane that has the worst every single time. Well, this isn't a whole lot better. Anyway, the reason I called you is, first of all, I've already called Noah and Merida, and I pre-recorded those phone calls, so I'll add them into the show a little bit later on. But I called you on a whim because I'm doing a series about what I've done for jobs throughout my working career.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to Showtime International. And even though it's not a job, Terminix turned into a job later on. It was still supposed to be a job because we thought it was going to pan out to be something that was paid in our stepping stone to Broadway type thing.
Etc. Yes.
Etc. And so I got to, I was doing the cast, and I wasn't giving any names, but I talked about the lovable teddy bear.
Mm-hmm.
You probably know who I'm talking about. Then you had the snotty diva.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about. I got the friendly theater vet. I can't remember what her name was, but the redhead. Then I got the goofy newbie. That was me. And the insecure newbie. And that was you.
Right.
And then I said, hey, I should call Kayla because she has insight to Showtime International that would probably be interesting to do on the podcast. So I called you.
Mm-hmm.
So the only other two I had was the oddball, and you know who that would be, Socrates.
Yeah. Right.
And then I had the adorable child.
Yes.
So I was just trying to kind of build an idea. I didn't want to give any names, but I was trying to build an idea for listeners about the cast that we had.
Okay.
So is that something, would you like to join into the discussion, or is that something you just really don't care to revisit?
Well,
It wasn't a great
fine.
experience.
No, not for me it wasn't.
Well, it wasn't for me either. I said that the only positive thing I got was some stuff dealing with one person. And I'm going to say his name because, and I'm talking about Warren Kraft.
Right.
Warren supposedly was an ex-Broadway, movie producer who had kind of signed on with the group as a guide. You know, he wasn't a director, he wasn't directing, he was just kind of a consultant.
and he would be there to coach and do things like that. And he claimed to have been a part of lots and lots of movies, but he refused to give us any details on which movies those were. And this was before the days of Facebook, or not even Facebook, the internet at all. So you couldn't just go look up Warren Kraft. I have since then, and I haven't found him. But, so I'm not going to say he was full of it, but I'm not going to say he wasn't.
Yeah, because it's kind of fishy.
It was very fishy. But there were some things, we took an acting class that he did, and there were some things that I think I did pull away from that were positives and usable in my stage career. What are you doing? The dishes?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, no, you caught me at the laundromat. I'm washing a whole bunch of clothes at one time.
Oh, that's awesome. That means I'm going to get to fold.
Lots and lots.
Lots and lots. Fold and hang. I guess what I want to know, where were you at the beginning? What were you thinking about this when we first started doing Showtime and we first went in for the auditions? And you know, we had this big idea at that time. We were very young. We were still in our teens, weren't we?
Yes, I was 17.
So I would have been about 19. And
right.
So we had these great, huge ideas of that this was going to be a stepping stone for us, and it was going to take us, you know, into the whole Broadway atmosphere. And then it just, right from the start, we realized this is a man and a woman and their daughter trying to start something. And it seemed to me, and I'm trying to be nice without throwing anybody under the bus, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed like really more of a vehicle for their daughter than anything else.
Right. I'm going to be honest with you, but if you will recall, hold on, there's a car behind me, and I can't back up till she moves. If you will recall, we were there for you to audition. We weren't necessarily there for me to audition. I was there just because I was with you.
And they convinced you to audition.
They convinced me to sing, and we sang Somewhere Out There from An American Tale, because that's what we had, and that's what we had recently been practicing.
I didn't even remember that.
I just they thought that I had a pretty voice, or at least Warren thought that I had a pretty voice. Obviously, I was extremely green. I had never sung in front of anyone.
Did I lose you? I think I lost the call. Oh, man. You know what happened? My phone died. Oh, that sucks. My phone died. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do now is plug in my phone and call back my wife in a minute and tell her that I'll call her back in a minute. I'm gonna tell you about Terminix, and we're gonna go back to this. I'm gonna have to give my phone time to get enough power to turn back on, and I've got this cool little Bluetooth thing that I think I can plug in and get her back via the Bluetooth, because I really want to hear what she had about that. But I will go ahead and tell you, and I know this is going to be a very disjointed show, but that's kind of the way things have been for me the past couple of days, just disjointed and chaotic, so please forgive me. It's normally a lot more on a straight path than such a bumpy road than this. But anyway, I will tell you that because I wasn't working and because I didn't have a job, I hadn't been able to find a job, I was finding it tough. The man in this family was a bigwig at Terminix and got me a job there. Now, by this time, I had grown my hair back out, and I was proud of it. And I was saying I'm never cutting it again. You know, I was still bitter with Carowinds about cutting it the way they did, but there'd been enough time now. There'd been a couple of years now that at least a year and a half, and my hair was growing back out, and it was at my shoulders again. And they didn't necessarily have a problem with it for the show, but they did, or for Showtime International, but when Warren, or not Warren, but whatever the guy's name that was the guy in the family that was starting this whole thing, he offered me the job at Terminix, and they had a strict hair policy. I had to be above the collar, and so I had to get it cut again. But he got me the job at Terminix. And so I'm just going to give you, while I'm waiting on my phone to jack up enough to call my wife back, I'm just going to tell you that Terminix was a bad idea. At the time, it was good, and the money was decent for my age. And it did train me how to schedule, because every morning we had certain people who had their contracts with Terminix to come in and do their pest control, I think once a month or once every 3 months. I think it was once every 3 months. And you had a list of people that you were supposed to call and get them all done within the 3-month period. And, this is your people for this month that you're supposed to do, and you had to call and schedule them and go do them. So I had to do that every morning, and it helped me to learn how to do that type of thing. And I've used that several times in other jobs. It didn't last long. First of all, bugs don't bother me all that bad, but there are a few that do. At the time, snakes bothered me quite a bit, although now they don't really. They did then. I wasn't cut out for that type of thing. I'm a little claustrophobic. I've got a bad back, so crawling on my hands and knees under houses and doing things like that, which you didn't have to do a whole lot of that, but enough of it. I didn't like the job to start with. But, and it's starting to rain, so if you're hearing the pitter-pat of rain on the windshield, then you're just going to have to deal with that as part of the road noise as well. What I hated about Terminix was we used this chemical that, even though we wore goggles and masks and all kinds of stuff, the chemical that we used to spray on the outside of the houses would get around my eyes, and my eyes would burn. My eyelids would feel like they were on fire every single day coming home, to the point where I was in tears every day going home, and in tears going to work the next morning, knowing there was some sort of allergic reaction I was having to the chemicals, and I finally had to quit Terminix. And the main reason was those chemicals. Maybe I should stop right here for a minute, because the rain's coming down hard. It's going to be hard for you to want to listen to this podcast with all this rain, even after I do some post-production. It's getting a little hard for me to see to drive as well, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the podcast right now, stop the recording, and I'm going to come to it in just a little bit. I'm going to come right back to it, and we'll put it all together in post-production. Once my phone's back working again, I can get my wife back, and we can continue telling you about Showtime International. So, see you. For you, it'll be instant. For me, it might be a while.
Yes, you talk. I come back.
Let's see if this is going to work, calling my wife back, because I told her I was enjoying that. Aw. She says give her a while. She's about to eat lunch. No, I'm not going to. I'm going to give her right now. Hi. Aw. Okay, let's see. Is this better? Speak to me. Speak to me. I bet it's not going to work the way I wanted it. Hello?
I can't hardly hear you.
Okay, apparently with everything connected to the Bluetooth device, it's just not going to work right. So don't worry about it. I'll just know next time I've got to have the phone fully charged. The phone I forgot that it was dead. So, anyway.
I'm about to order my lunch, and I can't understand you anyway, so let me let you go.
Okay, love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
Well, that's disappointing. Anyway, we're just going to have to go on. And I know what she was saying. If you recall, before all of that big cluster blank that just happened, if you recall what she was saying, she said she was really green. And that's why I called her the insecure diva, or not the insecure diva, is a Freudian slip? No, the insecure newbie. Because she was so green. She hadn't done hardly no dad burn stage performing
she'd been on the stage very little, hardly at all at that point. Now she's an old crusty theater vet. She's got a list a mile long of shows she's been a part of, directed, or been a lead in. She's done a lot of that. 20 years will do a lot of things for your experience in a thing. So she's got it. But now she, but then, excuse me, she was very green. And I like that term for it, because that's what it was. It wasn't that she was necessarily scared, although there was a lot of stage fright that she had to learn to get over. She was very green at the time, and I had quite a bit of experience. And now that I remember again, she's right. I was the one that was going to audition. She was just there for support, and then we sang together, and they convinced her to come along on the cast. So I'm imagining that I'm going to cut a lot of this down because it just seems very disjointed and a lot of fluff and stuff that you don't really need to know. So this is probably going to be quite a hefty post-production experience for me. But I want to get next into Warren Craft. I was telling her and was talking to her about Warren, so you heard us mention him. He's, like I said, claimed to have been involved and produced many of the big movies that we'd seen, but he refused. He said he didn't want the spotlight, and he was out of that now, and he didn't want to tell me what they were. He wouldn't tell anybody what they were. It's hard to say. Yeah. Everything in my gut is screaming the exact thing that it's screaming to you. That guy's a piece of work. He's full of it. That's a scam. And if he was, his sweet little wife was in on it with him because she went along with everything he said. Of course, who knows what the situation there was. All I know was Warren claimed to be this, and there was no way to figure out whether or not he was or was not. But I will tell you that he followed it through. In fact, we had, as I mentioned earlier, we got involved with, I think it was a month-long screen actors course that he allowed us. He was charging everybody else, but he allowed us to be a part of it for free because he knew we didn't have the money to pay what he was asking for it. And so he gave it to us for free, and I learned a lot in that. The last couple of things that happened with Showtime International, I will just tell you, it was a Broadway Revue they were putting together with songs you'd recognize from like Oklahoma, South Pacific, Sound of Music, all Finian's Rainbow. And what we were going to do was we were going to put together this review and go around places and book ourselves to do the same show until we got, big enough to where it was time for people to say we're wanting something new. So we were putting together this first show with all of those things, and it was just not coming along for all sorts of different reasons. It just was a big mess from the start. And in fact, we had a dress rehearsal. I don't remember how many rehearsals we had left, but we were coming down to the end we were supposed to present this for the very first time, the debut performance of this Broadway Revue. And Warren walks in and just says from the start, he says, "This is news I don't want to give you, but I'm just going to have to speak to you plainly. If y'all don't straighten up and get this together, I'm not going to put my name on it. I won't have my name anywhere involved with it. I don't want to be associated with it." And he said, that's not me trying to scare you. That's just a warning. I'm being serious. If we come to opening night and I don't feel like y'all are ready and it's going to be an embarrassment, I will not attach my name to it. And as a matter of fact, opening night, he told us before we went on stage, which I don't remember what I thought then, but now I'm thinking that is not the type of thing you do before you go on stage. He came and said, I don't think you're ready, and I'm not going to attach my name to it. I'm just letting you know that you're on your own. I'm here for support, not giving up on you, but so far, thus far, I'm not putting my name on it. And I understand. It was awful. It was bad. But I don't know, just, right before you're going on is not the time to tell that to a cast. I don't know. We kind of looked to him as our guru, and we were heartbroken. we had a couple of other bookings before the whole thing just fell apart. We went to the mall. There were a couple of other little things, but the main one I remember now was the mall. And they started whipping around different things. We ran out of time. Things went over. They started pulling numbers. They started adding stuff. I remember all of a sudden the little girl was doing Little Liza Jane, I think was a Vince Gill number, which had nothing to do with Broadway. They were grasping at straws, and it just fell apart. So that's really it. That's Showtime International and Terminix. I almost feel like I don't want to release this one, but I'm probably going to anyway. I'm going to see if I can't salvage it. And really, I guess maybe it's as disjointed an episode as that time in my life was, because I was so disappointed that Showtime wasn't going to pan out to be what it had promised to be. That it was such a barn fire. It just... It is just one of those times in my life that I look back on and go, no, I don't want to remember that fondly. I just want to forget about it. In fact, I do, for the most part, forget about it. I don't talk about it very often, other than when I'm, just giving a rundown of what I've done over the years and somebody really wants to dig in deep. So, there you go. There it is. I want to talk about last week's question to ponder, and I asked you to think about if you were dying, if you knew you were going to die tomorrow, what would you do today? If you knew tomorrow was going to be the day you died, what would you do today? And I told you that I knew what mine was going to be, and that it probably wouldn't change, and I thought about it a little bit over the past little bit here. Hopefully the road's about to sound a little bit better. I thought about it, and I was right. I have not changed my mind. If I knew I was going to die tomorrow, today, I would spend my time with my family and trying to do my part to win souls for Christ. That's the most important thing for me. I would try to surround myself with my family, and if there was anybody there that I felt I wanted to talk to about Jesus, I'd tell them about Jesus. And I think that it would be more impassioned than normal, because I would know I was going tomorrow. I would know, I would be excited. It would be like the day before vacation, but except it would be permanent bliss for me. I believe that going to heaven is going to be utopia, into paradise, and I would be excited that I'm almost there, and I'd want other people to know Jesus just as I do. And so I think that's what I would be doing, and that's how I would focus as well, like I said, is spending the last hours with the people around me that I love. And that would be more important to me than getting anything off of my bucket list or going to visit any new place. With those last few precious hours, I think that's what I would want to do, spend time with my family. And so if you were going to think about a question to ponder for next week, I want to again give one out to you, throw it out to you. If you could change one thing in the world, if there was one thing in this world you would change and you could snap your fingers and do it, what would it be? Think about it and get in touch with me. Talk about it next week. And this week's STD review. What are you talking about with the STD review? Stuff to do. The Stuff to Do review. I went to see The Mummy. I liked The Mummy, but it wasn't my favorite. It seems like, and I haven't Googled this to see if I'm right, but it seems like The Mummy is sort of ushering us into a series of movies. I think Universal is planning to do either a monster movies where they're all kind of tied in together, or I may have heard something about them remaking The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. One movie company or another did that not too long ago, and, it's not too long ago, I think back in the 90s or early 2000s, when they were really getting their feet ground in the cement of movie effects, digital movie effects and stuff, CGI. And so they tried the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen with Sean Connery. I can't remember who he played, but I think he was the lead guy. And something tells me, I read something about that recently, that Universal or somebody was going to do that. And I think that may be what's going on. And I won't tell you why, I won't spoil anything if you haven't seen The Mummy. But there's something that happened and a character that's in it that's made me go, oh, I see where they're going. I see what they're doing. And the way it ended kind of led you to believe that there would be more from this storyline to come. As far as it goes, as a movie, Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise. I mean, I love Tom Cruise's acting. I'm not crazy about him. I mean, I love him as a person. I love every human being. I don't think he and I would get along real well, but that doesn't stop me from seeing his movies. I think his movies are really good for the most part. I hated the last Mission Impossible movie, but that wasn't his fault. That was just the fact that he was performing a script that was ridiculous. But this one was decent. This one was a decent movie. It was a good night out, a good bucket of popcorn movie, a good date night. I didn't feel like I wasted my money. I didn't feel like it was a bad movie at all. I didn't feel like it was the greatest movie at all. It was just one of those movies. You go and enjoy a night out at the movies, and you come away with a little smile on your face and went, huh, that was a decent movie and a delicious bucket of popcorn. Here, honey, go refill this 5-gallon drum back with Coke Zero again for me, please. Speaking of Coke Zero, I've run out of mine and my mouth is dry, so I'm going to stop this episode of this very confusing, very distracted, very technologically blah podcast episode of Road Noise. If you have enjoyed this, then let me know. Let me know. If you didn't enjoy it, let me know that too and go, Michael, please, let's slow down, think about things, and sometimes it's okay to erase and do over. Because I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to go ahead and let this one run through and run its course, because you know what? I'm human. I want to be authentic, and I'm not going to always knock it out of the park. I don't think this one was a complete strikeout, but maybe a deep fly out where the audience thought, no, I don't think you even thought it was going to be a home run. It might have been a pop out, or maybe at least just a base hit or something. I don't know. Anyway, stop with the baseball analogies, Michael, and get on with it. If you'd like to leave me some information, here's how you do it. I have an email address. It's feedback@michaelblackston.com. That's feedback@michaelblackston.com, or you can call me at 706-408-7456. That's 706-408-7456. Call me and say, hey, dude, here's what I have to think about something, and I want you to put my voice on your podcast. If you do that and record your message there on the voicemail line on the number I just gave you, then I will put your voice on the podcast, and you too can sound wonderful and lovely as my children and my wife did. Before we go, I'm going to go and I do want to tell you to go to roadnoisepodcast.com. I know I mentioned that earlier, but everything else you want to do, you can do at roadnoisepodcast.com, including streaming the shows straight there from the website. You can leave comments. You can also find your way to iTunes and all of those other great, wonderful things. Leave me a rating and review there. All those wonderful things at roadnoisepodcast.com. So before we go, I told you that I was going to try to record a phone call with my children. I actually pre-recorded this. Thank God I did before the phone died. And so this is my children, and I'm just going to put a conversation that I had with them as they're on the road. Headed home from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Until next week when we do this episode 77, tell you about the next stage on my work journey. We'll see you next time. I'm Michael Blackston. Thanks for sitting alongside me in the passenger seat as we learn to live life 1 mile at a time.
Okay, can you tell me if this works?
Oh, this is good. This is good. That's a real good sound.
But see, I can't hear you, so let me see this. Can you hear me now?
No, don't do it on speakerphone, because speakerphone messes up the audio.
It's not on speaker.
What is it?
It's my headphones, my earbuds.
Okay, but can you hear me better?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, all right, well, this works. This is good. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
I'm recording. I told you I was going to be recording if it worked. So
Yeah.
it is working, and this is good because this is a test. I wanted to see if this was going to work for me to be calling people while I was driving anyway. So tell me about what y'all did. I mean, I know you FaceTimed me that one night, and then you called me the night before last, I think it was. But
Yeah.
tell me about what y'all did while you
Well, the first day, of course, we came to Myrtle Beach. We went into our hotel and we chilled for a while. Did we go to the beach next? We went to the pool next. The Lazy River.
Oh.
And we had a lot of fun with that. And then the next night, then the next day we went to the beach.
Let me ask you a quick question. Are you in the car with Mama?
No.
Okay, because she's calling in with me now. You went to the Lazy River the first day, and give me the big stuff you did. I know you played putt-putt at some point.
We played putt-putt that night. Did we play it that night? Yeah, I think, yeah. Played it that night. We played putt-putt, and I did the best I've ever done in putt-putt.
Awesome.
Ever. And I've got the sheet to prove it. I'm taking home and framing. I actually tied with the person I'd never tie with ever, and 2 strokes behind the person who's the best.
What? You'd have beat me then, because I'm awful at putt-putt.
Yeah, I did awesome. I was
Awesome. Cool.
So, then the next day we went to the beach. Yeah, I already said that. No, next day we went to the beach, and me and my grandpa went out and did stuff. It standard stuff.
You beat stuff.
We beach stuff. We did
Yeah.
beach stuff.
Cool.
And then we went to get Timothy, and we went to play. I don't know what happened. Oh yeah, we went to play. That was when we went to play putt-putt. We didn't play putt-putt the first day. We played putt-putt the second.
Did y'all play laser tag? I know a lot of times y'all will play laser tag.
That was the third day.
Y'all did do that? Okay.
Yeah, and that was basically all we did. We got in the pool and stuff.
You just hung out and chilled.
Yeah.
Cool. Next week, you're going to Jekyll Island with the 4-H.
I'm gonna have one day to be.
Yeah, and it's going to be back to the beach. But like I was telling you, if you're listening to the podcast over and over, there it is. It's in that spot. It's in this area. Okay. I've tried over and over this week to do this podcast, and something messes up and stops me every single time. So it was irritating me.
I'm sorry, Dad.
It's not your fault at all, but I figured it out. Anyway, you refused to wear sunscreen, and then you took your shirt off, and you got bad burn. That's what Meemaw said.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping you learned a lesson, because I've been down that road, and it ain't fun. And believe me, you do not want to burn like that and then in the future have to have skin cancers taken off like I have, because it ain't fun. And
Yeah, I
scars
know
you.
it ain't.
So, but I'm not going to ream you on the podcast. We've already had our you're going to wear sunscreen discussion while you're in Jekyll Island. So, all right, well, that's all. I know y'all are getting ready to stop and eat, and I'm going to call Merida and see if she'll give me some info on how she liked her trip, and then y'all eat and be safe getting home, okay?
Okay.
All right, I love you, big man.
Love you, Dad.
Bye.
Bye.
Now let's call Merida. I have to call my mom, because Merida doesn't have a cell phone, but she's in the car with Mom.
Brenda is not available.
Okay, let's call Mike, my stepdad.
Hello?
Hello. Okay, you've got Mike's phone. I called yours and didn't get an answer.
I don't know why. It's happening.
It went straight through to voicemail. Is Merida awake? I want to talk to her.
Yeah, she's awake.
Can you hand the phone to her?
You want to talk to her? You want to talk to her?
I do.
Okay.
Merida's 4.
Hey, Daddy.
Hey, Merida. How are you?
We have Logan, and he started to cry, but me and Mehmet,
Oh, you broke up, baby. You and Mitt what?
Oh, I did. Daddy, are you still there?
I'm here. I hear you. I just wanted to ask you about your trip.
We were at the hotel, and we have gotten the waves, and I'll tell you what happened. Noah got sunburned really bad.
I heard.
He's been in the sun all day.
And he didn't put on his sunscreen, did he?
No.
And that's why
He put a little. He didn't put too much.
he didn't put enough, and then he took his shirt off, and that's...
I did it one day. I really did it one day.
Did you? You know what I saw on Facebook? Steffi put pictures and videos of you swimming.
Oh, Papa, I'm just looking at the baby, okay?
Okay.
The baby's eating a spoon.
Oh. Yeah, you're learning to swim. I saw Papa
Are you
training you to
still
swim. I'm here.
Oh. Where's Minerva?
Where's Minerva? I don't know. I'm in my car. I'm on the way home. I'm not sure where Minerva is. She's probably laying down, curled up.
Hey, where's Minerva?
Oh, Minerva's probably in the house somewhere, baby girl.
Oh, are you going home to see her?
I am. I'm on my way home right now, and then we'll see you tonight, I think.
We're going somewhere.
Yeah, you're gonna go eat. Yeah.
But I don't think I'm gonna like the food.
Why?
I don't think I'm gonna like the food.
Where are you going to eat?
No, I won't. I won't like the food.
Okay. Listen, hey, Merida, I'm gonna...
What?
I'm gonna go ahead and go now. I just wanted to say hey to you and tell you I think I'm gonna see you tonight. Now,
What, Daddy?
can you hear me okay?
No.
No? Okay, well, I'm gonna go, okay?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, I love you.